Coming to paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this all-new Spinsterella story. Pre-order your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. A security guard took the life of a dean at Spartan College in Inglewood, California.
A former security guard who police say opened fire inside Spartan College in Inglewood has now been charged with murder and attempted murder. The dean of the aviation school has died from her injuries in the attack. A receptionist is still recovering.
Mary Beth McDade is live in Inglewood with more on how the 35-year-old dean is being remembered tonight. MB?
Yes, and Mike and Cher, she is being remembered by her family and friends tonight as compassionate, loving, and fiercely loyal. Now, as for her alleged killer, well, he remains behind bars, and his bail has been increased from $1 to $5 million today. The family of a dean of Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology in Inglewood broke the heartbreaking news Tuesday that Dr. Cameisha Clark died Monday. Her death, the result of being gunned down, officials say, by a coworker last Friday. Inglewood's mayor expressed his sympathies to her family and friends.
Hearts go out to the family, and this should never have happened, and it's a terrible instance of workplace violence.
Campus security guard 40-year-old Jesse Figueroa of Monterey Park is accused of shooting and killing 35-year-old Clark and injuring her assistant inside a school office.
We did a lockdown of the campus, room-to-room search, discovered there were no more victims and that he had fled. We arrested him about 2 hours and 40 minutes later in Koreatown.
Figueroa has now been charged with murder, attempted murder, and a felon with prior convictions in possession of a firearm, among other charges. The mayor says Figueroa had only worked at the college for 2 months.
It's a tragedy for the school, for the family, two wonderful people so viciously harmed, and our hearts go out to the families.
Clark's family says they are beyond devastated. They say she was living her best life, doing the work she loved. Clark grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, where she received 3 degrees at Clark Atlanta University, a bachelor's, master's, and an educational doctorate. Her family says they are committed to seeking justice on her behalf. And now Figueroa was supposed to be arraigned today, but it has been pushed back until May 29th. Now, as for the other victim, she is said to be in stable condition. For now, reporting live here in Inglewood, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send it back to you guys in this studio.
Mary Beth, thank you.
Now, in this alleged incident that took place on the campus of Spartan College in Inglewood, California, 40-year-old Jesse Figueroa returned to the campus that he used to work at dressed in his uniform and carrying a firearm. And as he returned to the campus dressed in his security uniform and carrying a firearm, he then went to the dean's office of Dr. Cameisha Clark, a 35-year-old woman who had just been hired to become one of the deans of Spartan College, and went to her office and allegedly then shot her assistant and receptionist, then went and shot Dr. Cameisha Clark, and after shooting both women, he then fled the scene. And after he wound up fleeing the scene, EMTs came to the scene, and eventually what sadly happened is while the assistant was taken to the hospital in critical condition, what happened was she was injured and was taken to the hospital, and Dr. Cameisha Clark sadly came to the hospital, possibly brain dead, but eventually wound up dying as a result of the gunshot wound she allegedly received from Jesse Figueroa. Now, after shooting Dr. Cameisha Clark, Jesse Figueroa then decided to return home, and that's when his family decided to report him to the police. And after the family reported him to the police, Jesse Figueroa was quickly taken into custody and charged with the murder of Dr. Cameisha Clark, and was also charged with the attempted murder of her assistant. Now, the police in Los Angeles in Inglewood see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior of Jesse Figueroa, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, and possibly fits the pattern and profile and behavior of psycho simps that I talk about in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. Now, when I look at this whole crime, again, the police in Inglewood don't really see a motive, but I see a motive for murder for this Jesse Figueroa, and the motive for murder could be a fixation that he had on Dr. Cameisha Clark. Now, Dr. Cameisha Clark was a very educated black woman who went out here and got her bachelor's degree, her master's degree, and PhD in Atlanta, and was looking to start a promising career in education as an administrator with all of her degrees, and thought nothing of going to this campus of this college that where she went to work. And as she went to Spartan College, she was looking to start her academic career, not aware of the dangers of this guy, Jesse Figueroa. Now, Jesse Figueroa basically was one of these simps who possibly, as I see it, had a fixation on Dr. Cameisha Clark. And as he had this fixation on Dr. Cameisha Clark, he did what many beta males do, and he basically looked to explore this fixation in a place I call the secret world. And in that secret world, this is where he had this fixation on Dr. Cameisha Clark and was looking to again explore his fantasies regarding this woman. Now, when it comes to a lot of beta males, again, they don't know how to navigate through their emotions or process their feelings regarding someone, and what they do is build a world around that person. And as they build that world around that person, they sit there simmering and boiling in anger, because they have an inferiority complex regarding the person that they have a fixation on. Now, when it comes to these type of simps, again, they build a world around a woman, and they sit in that world fantasizing about that woman and have frustrations about that woman because of the inferiority complex that they have. Because a lot of times with these kind of guys, they have an inferiority complex where they feel that they just can't measure up to this person that they have this fixation on, and they fear being rejected by that person. And as a result of them fearing being rejected by that person, they sit there seething in anger about this person, a person who knows absolutely nothing about them at all or even cares about them. And this person basically has built a world around that person, built an entire world around that person. Meanwhile, people like Dr. Cameisha Clark, again, are going on about their business, not ever being aware of the dangers regarding people like this male, Jesse Figueroa, who has built this world around this woman. And as he's built this world around this woman, he's seething in anger because of his own inferiority complex. And because of his own inferiority complex, this man basically is angry at a woman who has no idea that he even exists. And from the looks of this Jesse Figueroa, he's looking like, again, one of these obese guys who, again, has basically had struggles in life and possibly got a connection to get him this job. And sadly, as he got this job, within 2 months, he became his own worst enemy, on seeing Dr. Cameisha Clark. And as he saw Dr. Cameisha Clark, he started to fixate on Dr. Cameisha Clark to the point where he was developing I believe, a possible obsession with Dr. Cameisha Clark, and possibly had this fixation on Dr. Cameisha Clark as related to his obsession, to the point where he was seething with all of this anger over a woman who didn't even know that he existed, didn't know he had feelings about her. And over the course of that 2 months, instead of him focusing on trying to keep that job, he was focusing on his possible obsession with Dr. Cameisha Clark, and got to the point where, as he was seething in anger, he wound up eventually losing that job. Losing that job, according to some speculation by Dr. Cameisha Clark. This is what some people were saying, that she might have possibly led to him getting fired, but I don't believe that at all. No, I have seen so many cases of these type of beta males to know that these guys sometimes don't take their responsibilities as related to their job, and because they don't take their responsibilities for their job, they wind up losing that job. And as they wind up losing that job, this is the thing that triggers their anger and leads to them exploding in rage. And exploding in rage as they go out here and take their anger out on the person they had their fixation on and their possible obsession with. That's what I believe happened here at this college, Spartan College. Again, this guy, Jesse Figueroa, after losing that job, then wound up putting back on his security guard uniform and then returning to the campus with a loaded firearm, looking to get revenge against the person who he believed led to him possibly being slighted, or looking to get revenge on the person who he had this obsession with, and for rejecting him as related to his whole frame of his perception of her. And again, this woman possibly never had any sort of interaction with this guy at all, but he had this whole fantasy built up around this woman, and that possibly was the motive for him going directly to her office dressed in that guard's uniform and carrying that firearm, looking to, again, shoot the assistant and then shoot Dr. Cameisha Clark. That's what I believe happened here in this case as related to Jesse Figueroa, and this was what led to his, again, efforts to, again, allegedly take the life of this woman who had nothing to do with him at all. That's what I believe happened here as related to what transpired, as related to what led to the tragic death of Dr. Cameisha Clark, was that you had a beta male who had an obsession with this woman. Now, what's really puzzling to me is how this man was allowed to keep his uniform after being terminated, and possibly keep things like his ID to get on that campus, because I know from my own personal experience working at the City College of New York, I wasn't allowed to keep anything when I lost my civil service position after they let me go from the science library. I know that on that day of October 24th, 2008, the head of the department then told me that he was terminating my employment and told me to give up my ID and the keys to the library, and I was escorted out by security. And I'm wondering why this Hispanic male who was at Spartan College was not given that type of treatment. I'm wondering why he was not told to give up his ID and then turn in his uniforms for that security position. I mean, when I look at that whole situation, it's looking like a major breach of security to not go out here and confiscate these items from a person who has been terminated from a position. I mean, I find it odd that this guy did not get his uniforms and his, again, IDs or other things taken from him to ensure that he would not return to the campus and be a clear and present danger. Moreover, I also wonder, why did this guy even get a security job at Spartan College based on his past record? Now, according to some reports, they state that when it came down to Jesse Figueroa, he was someone who had several arrests on his record, and I didn't think that anybody would go out here and allow someone to work security if they had arrests on their record and possible convictions. I didn't think that person would be considered a good person to fit into security and security on a college campus. And I'm wondering how this guy got this job in the first place. I'm wondering how he got this job when he was someone who, again, had a series of records as related to arrests, and also, again, was got and had that jail record. Now, I'm wondering if it was him getting Hispanic privilege or a hookup from people in the Hispanic community or the white community that led to him getting this job. Because I know that if it was a heterosexual black man like myself, if it was a heterosexual black man, he would never even be allowed to even take this job, much less be allowed to even be able to get a security license or be able to even get access to a firearm, possibly legally. And I'm looking at this whole situation with a bit of a side eye as related to the Human Resource Department over at Spartan College, because when I look at Jesse Figueroa's background, he definitely is someone who wouldn't fit that whole profile of someone you would want working security. I mean, would you want someone who working security who already has a series of possible arrests and convictions for crimes in a job that's meant to protect the campus? Critical question I have to ask, because when I look at this whole situation, it's looking to me like somebody got this guy a hookup, and as they got this guy a hookup, they basically put the entire campus in danger, put the campus in danger by putting this man who wasn't fit to be a security guard in the position of security. And that led to this breach of security where this guy basically, again, came back to the campus dressed in his uniform, and was able to access the dean's office of Dr. Cameisha Clark, putting the dean, Dr. Cameisha Clark's life in jeopardy. And this 35-year-old young sister who worked her way to get this position wound up losing her life as a result of this whole breach of security. Again, a breach of security because people wanted to give a chance to a man who definitely, as I see it, was a man in crisis. A man in crisis because he didn't know how to function as a man, didn't know how to function as a man as related to having any sort of male life skills or male survival skills, to lose a job in just 2 months. I mean, this dude was not even able to keep this job for 60 days. And again, when you're on probation on these positions, usually you get a probationary period of a year, and this guy couldn't even go 60 days before an incident led to him being terminated. And that's what got me again looking at the Human Resource Department over at Spartan College, because somebody allowed this guy to get a hookup, and because he just didn't fit the psychological profile of a security guard, he basically led to the breach of security that led to the death of Dr. Cameisha Clark. And that really has me looking at this school as related to them having an issue with their security, because you put an innocent black woman's life in jeopardy. I mean, this sister was just going to work, minding her business, as I see it, based on what I have read as related to the reports on the death of Dr. Cameisha Clark. Dr. Cameisha Clark was basically one of these sisters going about her business, minding her business, and just trying to get the hang of this new position as a dean, because she possibly moved from Atlanta to Inglewood, was getting her life in order, and sadly wound up losing her life because of this man who definitely was out of order. And as he was out of order, he escalated his behavior as related to his fixation. Because a lot of times when it comes down to these simps, again, like I said before, they build worlds around women that they sometimes like, or they want, or they feel that they want to be with but can't be with because of their station in life. And as they're feeling frustrated because they can't get the women that they want due to their station in life, they build this world where they want to be with this woman, but then they get frustrated, and then they want to destroy the life of that woman. And that's what I believe happened here with Jesse Figueroa, who is now going to go from being a free man who had a job to rebuild his life to his life falling completely apart as he returns to the county jail, and then eventually will be convicted for the alleged murder of Dr. Cameisha Clark, and will possibly now get life in prison, where he will now have to deal with no longer being a person in authority like a security guard, but will be under the authority of the CEOs, who will be very nonchalant as he has to deal with the social pecking order of Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, as they go out here and trade him for items on the commissary, such as Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Taster's Choice coffee, Keef coffee, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand orange drink, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand mango drink, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand coconut cookies, off-brand sugar wafers, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snacks, oyster crackers, Hunt's snack pack puddings, Fritos chips, hot and sour pickles, beef summer sausages, Oreo pudding pops, and all sorts of stuff in the commissary. And as he's basically being traded for all of those items in the commissary, like prison chips and other sorts of items, he basically is going to wind up getting his front side and back sided completely violated, as Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles wind up going out here spit roasting this dude. And as they wind up spit roasting this dude, he will go from being a possible incel to getting plenty of ass in the penitentiary, as these guys basically wind up filling up the front side and the back side and blowing the front side and the back side out. And then Mr. Sprinkles will come in and then spray the front side and the back side with his special sauce, then call all the inmates in cell block D to come in and see this dude's backside as Mr. Sprinkles splits the cheeks open and then shows this dude's backside looking like the inside of a Louisiana crunch cake. That is the fate that sadly is going to await Jesse Figueroa, and when at 40 years old, his life is basically over at this point because he didn't know how to navigate a course in life in the real world, and because he didn't know how to function in the real world, he is now going to be an impossible inmate with life in prison in the penitentiary, where they're going to turn his ass out and turn him completely out because he basically took the life of a educated sister, again a sister who had all this promise and potential and wanted to go out here and achieve that promise but never got that opportunity. That's the whole sad part about this whole situation with Dr. Cameisha Clark. She never got that chance to actualize her potential, all because of a guy who was employed at this college and didn't even know how to function as a man. I mean, what's sad here is, again, this man was put in a place to secure and protect Dr. Cameisha Clark, but he didn't even want to protect her because he was obsessed, I believe, with her. This is my observation regarding this Jesse Figueroa. He basically was obsessed with this woman because he knew as a man he wasn't on that level, and as he wasn't on that level, he got angry because he couldn't get on the level of a black woman like this, and that was having the thing that had him so angry. And that's where this man, who was messed up his whole life and went from a working man to becoming a man in crisis, and sadly wound up taking the life of a promising sister who had the whole world in front of her, but had that world taken away, all because the campus basically went out here and didn't hire a man, but went out here and hired a man in crisis. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can request it by sending a minimum donation of $15 to the PayPal or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if I know something about that subject, or I can research something about that subject, I will make that video for you. Now, if you want to help out a man in your life who is struggling with issues, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to help a man break out of the simp paradigm and learn how to function in the real world as related to socially interacting with women, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping: Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, on Amazon.com as well, along with The Man Crisis. And you can also find Stop Simping at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.